Hello friends, today I will be discussing through this video mainly the implant section or the implants which are used in the orthopedic surgery, which are very important regarding the exam point of view. So before starting on the implant, I just want to show you that there are two basic type of fixation which are used in orthopedics when we fix the bone. One is the internal fixation and the other is the external fixation. So we will be talking about the internal fixation part. The internal fixation mainly consists of plates and screws and the nailing system. And the external fixation is mainly the linear type of fixator, what we use the AO type of external fixator, and the ring type of fixator, that is the Elizaro fixator. So before starting, the basic unit or the basic thing which is used in the implant, the basic implant is the screw. The screw we define as the device, the mechanical device which converts the rotational forces into translation forces. So when we rotate with the help of a screwdriver, when we rotate the screw, it translates forward. So that is the rotational force is getting converted into the translation force. Now we will discuss about the different types of screws. There are various classification they have divided into the screws. One is the cortical and the cancellous. So this one is the cortical screw which is used for the cortical bone fixation. This one is the cancellous screw which is used for the cancellous bone fixation. The cortical, the way of identify the differentiate is based upon the pitch and the thread depth. So if you see carefully, this is the cortical screw. The pitch is actually the distance between the two threads. So the pitch is low and the thread depth is actually the depth of the thread from the core diameter. So it is the thread diameter minus the core diameter or the shaft diameter. So if you see the cancellous screw, the depth is more in order to accommodate more and more cancellous bone to have an increased purchase of the screw, and the pitch of the screw is also more. The pitch is the distance between the two threads. So one is the cortical and the cancellous. This we have covered, that how to differentiate between the cortical screw and the cancellous screw. The another is it could be fully threaded or partially threaded. You can see here that this screw is this and this screws are the fully threaded, that they have the threads throughout the length, whereas this is partially threaded, they have the thread only at the tip. Now they can be of two types. There could be 16 mm thread length or 32 mm thread length. Now the basic purpose of fully threaded versus partially threaded, the partially threaded screws are used for the leg screw. They are used as a leg screw for compression at the fracture site. For example, in the fracture neck of femur and other places where we need fixation in compression mode. Another classification is when we use the simple screw and the locking screw. If you see carefully that this one is, just compare these two. So this one is actually a simple screw. This is simple screw and this is a locking screw. I will show you why it is known as the simple and why this is locking, because the locking screw have the threads over the head also. You can see here that the simple screw will not have the thread over the head of the screw. This is the head of the screw. Whereas in the locking screw, you can see they have the threads up to the head so that the screw gets fixed in the locking plate. So if I take any plate which is locking, the locking plate will have the threads over the hole also. Now this is the hole of the screw and you can see that the screw can get locked in this hole. So the main purpose is this is locking screw to increase the strength. We will talk in detail when we cover the plate. So just remember the screws are cortical and cancellous, fully threaded, partially threaded, locking and the simple one. And another classification is the non-cannulated and cannulated, or we can say it as a solid versus cannulated. You can see that this is the solid screw and this is a cannulated screw because this has a hole in it so that the guide wire can pass through it. Again, this is used in the fracture neck of the femur or fracture scaphoid or fracture capitulum, where we need the exact, we insert first the guide wire and over this guide wire we check the position, and over this guide wire we insert the screw to avoid the multiple attempt of the screw fixation. So this is all about the screws. One more thing is left is the tapping and non-self tapping and self tapping screw. So again, this is just see the tip of the screw. If you see this screw, this is having no flute. The flute is actually a longitudinal this serration you can see, this is basically self-tapping screw, this is non-self-tapping screw. So in order to have a good fixation without tapping the bone, this screw has the mechanism of tap as well as. So this is the self-tapping type of screw and this is the non-self-tapping type. So this all about the screws. Now